Okay, so yeah, as we've just been introduced, I'm Claire, this is Sacha. Anyone who's partied in Manchester over the past 30 years will know Sacha. There is something we are going to just get out of the way first. There is a bit of an elephant in the room. A COVID grant from the Arts Council. We're okay to go through this, aren't we?
100%.
Yeah, COVID grant from the Arts Council for £400,000 was withdrawn from an old company you were involved in earlier this year.
Yeah.
Following a review. The Arts Council.
A couple of years ago.
The review was 2022, wasn't it? The initial review.
Yes.
Yeah. So the Arts Council investigated the application after allegations of misuse. No evidence of misuse of public money.
Twice. They investigated twice.
They investigated
Yes.
in 2022, then the most
Correct.
recent investigation at the start of this year.
Correct.
And that is when the Arts Council withdrew that funding.
Correct.
So that is going back to the Arts Council.
Yes.
Yeah, the company was liquidated in 2023. That was Primary Event Solutions. You were a 30% stakeholder in that.
Correct.
Okay. You stood down as the Greater Manchester Nighttime Economy... it's a tongue twister.
Nighttime Economy
Greater
Advisor.
Manchester Nighttime Economy Advisor in January. After that, following the wrap up of that review, which I know you've got a big job on at the minute, and you're a dad, so you were going to stand down anyway. But after that review, you stood down. So I just want to ask you three very straight questions about that.
Okay.
So, did you knowingly mislead the Arts Council when you applied for
Not
COVID
at all,
funding?
and they've come out and said there was no misleading whatsoever. It was mistakes. So that was it. So there was no misleading of the Arts Council.
Okay. Did you benefit personally
Nothing.
from the grant?
I never took wages from that company, never took dividends from the company.
Okay.
And as you said, I was a minority shareholder.
Okay. And what has been the impact on it for you, the whole situation?
Well, it was tough. So, as you said, I've just become a dad, which is why I look like this. I actually thought, don't laugh. I thought doing warehouse project in Parklife, I'd be used to late nights. This morning, 3 o'clock, I was like, blah, 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 just sat there babbling to himself. But I'll be honest, the impact was tough. The media intrusion on my wife during that whole period, during that 9-month period, she was heavily pregnant. And, a couple of times I came back and I found her crying. And that was really the reason why I said, you know what, I'm going to step out of this for a period of time. Because it wasn't fair on her and it wasn't fair on Lowen. That's my baby.
Yeah, Sasha's got a little boy now, in case you didn't know. How old is he? 16 weeks?
17
weeks.
I'll share a secret with you. And I'm not scared to say this. I'm actually wearing my wife's Tusha clap this morning because I looked in the mirror and I looked like I was recovering from something. So yeah, she dabbed it under my eyes here just to make me look semi-presentable.
So you've stood back from that now. And
well, this is it. So I stood back, but to be honest, hospitality is my life. It's my passion. It's something I've done for 30 years, and I just started to watch what was going on a couple of weeks after standing back, and I thought, I cannot sit back and let this happen. And in the role I was in, there were certain moments where I had to sit on my hands, because obviously Andy's a Labour Party member. I'm a Labour Party member, up until recently a Labour Party donor. We might touch on that in a bit. But there were certain points I couldn't say things because I didn't want it to bite Andy on the bum.
yeah.
So 2 weeks into stepping back, I did write an open letter to Rachel Reeves.
I saw it.
My annoyance of what she's doing as the Chancellor. I couldn't have done that in the position. And again, last weekend there was a piece in the Telegraph newspaper about what I really felt about the Treasury at the moment. I couldn't have done that. So I'm starting to realise actually I can speak a lot freer now that I'm not in that role.
Yeah, and you're doing it on a national scale, aren't you, as well? Not just for Greater Manchester. I know Manchester's got your heart, but
I'll always be a Manc.
Yeah.
So
Look at that.
I was so angelic. Look at that.
How did you go from that to running these?
So
we've got Parklife. I know you had quite a fractious relationship with your dad. I know you've left school, grammar school, with no qualifications except an E.
That's not true. I got an E in art. Yeah.
Which we can tell with the flyers.
Yeah, there was kind of a theme about E's throughout my career. But yeah, I got 2 U's and an E. I had a really tough time at school. The first picture I was wearing the tie, that was Altrincham Prep, and I did all right at Altrincham. That one there, I did all right there. I was always in the top 3. But my mum and dad absolutely insisted that I had to go to Manchester Grammar. There was no option whatsoever. I had to go to MGS, and because they wanted the best for me. And when I was at APS, after school every single night, I'd have to go to a tutor for 1 hour. He literally trained me how to pass the entrance exam for Manchester Grammar. And part of the entrance exam is you have to write an essay. And this guy called Howard Stockton, this tutor, his nickname was Doc Stock, I don't know why, gave me 100 colourful phrases that I had to learn off by heart.
Colourful? How colourful?
Colourful phrases. So not like the language these days, but bear in mind, I was 11 and I was writing an essay waking up to the sun's vast vermilion orb, the moon's incandescent pearl, the tranquil translucent water.
Brilliant.
Right, I can still remember these 100 colourful phrases.
It worked then.
It works, but the problem was I was trained to get through it. But I was not suited to MGS. I was not intelligent enough to go to Manchester Grammar. So I went from being in the top 3 to consistently in the bottom 3. And it was tough.
So that must have had an impact on you.
I think it turned me into a bit of a blagger. I managed to get through the whole school.
And you're still here.
And I'm still blagging. But yeah, if you'd said to me at MGS, if you'd said, look, because everyone in my class was going to Oxford, Cambridge, St Andrews. They don't want to be doctors. I know there's a load of lawyers in the room today. Why are lawyers funny? They're not funny when you get the invoice, I can tell you that. And I've had those recently. But everyone knew what they wanted to do, and I didn't. My first job actually was working for the original flannels in Altrincham, in Goose Green, Altrincham, £20 a day, measuring inside legs. And if you'd said to me, look, when you get older, you're going to have co-founded the biggest nightclub in the world, Warehouse Project, biggest Metropolitan Festival in the UK, Parklife. You'd be the first nighttime economy advisor for Greater Manchester for the Mayor Andy Burnham. And considering you've got you at English Lit, you're going to have a Sunday Times bestseller. I'd say you've nicked the confiscation box at the Hacienda. That's impossible. But
that sounds interesting. That sounds an interesting box. It started with this first rave you did at Hacienda, midweek rave.
Yeah, which is just behind where we are now, actually.
Yeah.
So 4th of July 1994.
31 years ago.
All right. 4th of July 1994 was my first event. And it started off because there was a guy in my class whose mum and dad were quite wealthy, a guy called Arnie Hera. They owned Techset and Hera wholesalers in Cheetham Hill. And for his 18th birthday, they hired a club in Oldley Edge called Yesterdays. Okay. And it was always closed on a Monday, so they hired it on a Monday. And this is before social media, before obviously Twitter or Instagram or any of those horrible things. And I think he invited like 50 people, but word of mouth snowballed and 400 people turned up.
Wow.
And I thought, well, if I can get a club to allow me to open on a night where they'd normally be closed, like a Monday or a Tuesday, can I charge everyone £2.50? Maybe there's something in this. Bearing in mind I was earning £20 a day. So we booked the Hacienda. And I remember leaving the meeting, having gone in there, and the manageress was someone called Andrew Matthews. I remember leaving there and thinking, Arnie and I had done the deal of the century. I thought I was Richard Branson. We'd actually been completely and utterly ripped off.
Really?
Yeah. It was a Monday night. They charged us, I've still got the contract at home on my wall, they charged me £1,000 in 1994 for a Monday night, plus VAT at 17.5% in those days. I guarantee they never paid the VAT. And they knew I wanted to put a student night on.
And the students had gone home, weren't
4th of July, there were no students here.
Yeah.
So what we actually did, we realised, all right, good to see you. We realised very, very quickly that we were screwed. We had to pay this money, we had to pay the security. So we went round all the shops in Manchester, and in those days you could leave flyers on the counters. It's different these days. That's a flyer from Granada Studios. So the night's called Scandalous, And we came up with this concept where we'd say to everyone, say to all the managers, look, we're from the Hacienda. That was a lie. We weren't from the Hacienda at all. We were just promoters. Said, we're from the Hacienda. We want to thank you for allowing us to put all our flyers on your counter for the last year. We've got this special night coming up. We've got loads of celebs coming down. You as the manager can come in free, and you can put your staff down on the guest list, discounted price of £5. And Manchester United are going to be there, and people are going to be there, Take That are going to be there. We reeled off all these names. It was complete bollocks. And luckily, we were friends with Justin Orange, who's Jason Orange's twin brother. He now owns a cafe in Altrincham called Toast that does really well.
Yeah.
Anyway, the night started, a couple of hours in, everyone had a few drinks, and we were starting to get mired. You said such and such going to be. I was like, well, there's Justin Orange. Have you not seen Take That? Ryan Giggs is just around the corner.
Brilliant.
And we managed to blag it, and we just about scraped even with 784 people. And we celebrated. We left. My friend Arnie was Indian, and we left at 2 a.m. This is rock and roll. Clubs closed at 2 in those days, and his mum had made us samosas. So we sat in his house in Heaton Moor eating his mum's samosas at 2:30.
From that, we've got this picture of Sankey's. I know you'd meant
That's on the roof of Sankey's.
Yeah.
There's a story here. So that was the very first big event I ever did. And that was also the first time I was ever sued. The lawyers were pleased to know.
Oh, brilliant. That's something to celebrate, isn't it?
Yeah. They didn't win. So there was a night on 31st of October 1996 at where I still call GMEX, called Fantasia. It did really well. They had 12,000 people there. And I thought it'd be great to do something more Manchester based, because they came from all over the country. So I managed to hire Granada Studios, and Man is Manchester, and Fantasia is like a Disney concept, a theme park. That was my idea behind it. Obviously Fantasia jumped in and tried to sue me. But the thing I remember here was they allowed me to use all the film sets. Baker Street, Houses of Parliament. We had a rave in Parliament there. We actually had a rave on Coronation Street, and I got a call about 1 a.m. from security to say there's a bit of an issue here. What do you want to do about this? There's CCTV, obviously it's moved now, but there's CCTV all around Coronation Street. And there was a couple having sex in Jack and Vera's backyard next to the pigeon coop. And they were really proud about it. It was like, yes, they, the couple, normally you'd be really embarrassed, being caught on camera. But they were ecstatic.
Imagine it on social media these days.
Can you imagine?
Crazy. That's outside
the
set list.
Yes, so actually this here is that's Snoop. That was the opening weekend of Warehouse Project 2006 at Bonington's Brewery.
Right.
The actual first night was on a Thursday night, and we had Public Enemy. Yeah. And my phone started ringing almost immediately the second we put the sound system on. Bonington's Brewery is in Cheetham Hill. It's gone now. But my phone started ringing. It was withheld number. And I still presume now it's people after a guest list. So I ignored it. But when it was still ringing at 12, I answered it. And this voice said, is that Sacha Lord? And I was like, yeah, it is. Who am I speaking to? I'm the governor from Strangeways Prison. It's like, okay. Strangeways Prison was right next door to where we had the rave. He said, what time do you close tonight? I said, we finish at 2:00. He's like, okay, well, we can live with that then. I said, but we're open again tomorrow. We close at 5:00 on Friday and Saturday. What do you mean you close at 5:00 on this weekend? I said, no, it's not just this weekend. It's every weekend now from September leading up to New Year's Eve, including New Year's Day. He said, we've got a major problem. I said, why? What's the major problem? I said, well, I've got 1,600 prisoners at the moment, all raving because the base is leaking. The base is leaking directly into the prison. The governor went on record to say that, I'm not proud of this by the way, but the Warehouse Project was responsible for a spike in drug taking. And we were getting letters on a month, on a Tuesday from HMP Strangeways letterhead saying, I've just been on the website, Animac's set was really good on Saturday. Can you send us a tape in? So we left. Environmental health weren't very happy with us.
Yeah, then you moved, didn't you? But
Moved to
that was
Store
the
Street.
beauty of warehouse projects as well, that time that it was set up when students are here. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
That was what was, it was like a kind of festival, wasn't it, that ran
That's
for
it.
a few months.
Nomadic, just September through to
Yeah.
New Year's Eve. So from there we moved to the biggest air raid shelter in World War II, which is Store Street.
Yeah,
And now it's at Mayfield.
yeah.
In 2003, Manchester allowed me to have the licence for the first legal warehouse party since John Major had shut them all down. And it was on Pollard Street. It was a place where they filmed 24-hour party
Wow.
people. And one of my licence conditions was I had to have sniffer dogs on the door.
That's a bit of a fail, isn't it? Sometimes?
Well, yeah. So we had to have sniffer dogs. I was well out of my depth. It's when I had Sankey's.
Yeah.
Sankey's was a capacity of 800 people, so gone from 800 to 12,000. We'd completely sold out. I was running around everywhere on the day, and licensing turned up and said, "Yeah, everything's great. We've counted your security. They're all here. Where are your sniffer dogs?" I'd completely missed it. So the head of security, the guy that owned the firm, he wasn't his real name. He was known as Ratty. Real name Tony Ratcliffe.
He's from Wigan, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was massive, like massive. And I phoned Ratty up. I was like, "Ratty, where are my sniffer dogs?" He's like, "I can't, I'll try and do that." "Don't worry, love, they're on the way." Always called me love. Weird. So an hour later, he wasn't answering his phone. I'm like, "Where are these sniffer dogs?" So I phoned his number 2. A guy called Dave Poole said, "Dave, where are the sniffer dogs? I'll be there in 5 minutes." I was like, "Okay." I did something else. Came back to the front door. There were 4 sniffer dogs there. One was a fucking Pomeranian. Right? I was like, "Dave, what are you doing here? These are not sniffer dogs." Right? It's like a French bulldog, a Pomeranian, something else. It's like, "I'm going to be honest with you." I said, "You need to be honest, because licensing had to come and back down and check this." Ratty made us drive around Preston and just pick up random dogs from gardens, people's gardens. They'd nick dogs out of the gardens. I don't know whether those dogs ever made it home again. So if you ever lost a Pomeranian, you lived in Preston in 2003, I'm really sorry.
I want to move on now to the book. If you've not seen the book, it is lime green there, Tales from the Dance Floor. Why write a book? Why was the time right?
I'd been asked a couple of times to do it, and the time just wasn't right. But when I was finally asked the last time by HarperCollins, the stars were aligned. It was 30 years, when the book came out, it was 30 years since the first event I spoke about in 1994. It was 20 years since my first warehouse party, when we were writing it in 2003. And it was the end for my life at Warehouse Project and Parklife, so it was time to do it.
And it tells everything. It tells the good. It does, you know what I mean? But there were some rough times. I know we've spoken about this in the past through we had Robert Hart at Parklife.
Yeah.
And Nick Bonney at
Nick
the Warehouse.
Bonney was the one that
the
really...
Warehouse Project.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that was the first time you interviewed me.
Yeah. Nick Bonney died after taking
Nick Bonney,
drugs at the Warehouse
September
Project.
2013, and
Why
we're
was
at
it that long
Victoria. Yeah, we're at
ago?
Victoria Warehouse at the
Yeah.
time. Nick Bonney, being down as a customer, was taken very, very poorly, taken to hospital, and didn't make it. That was a very, very, very tough time. Not just clearly for his family and his friends, but as an organisation, it was the only time we've ever said, "Should we stop what we're doing?"
Really?
And the reason we didn't stop it, we debated it for about a week. And I have to say, not you, but the press could have played such an important role there, but they demonised us. I called a press conference against the advice of the PR company we were using at the time. They said, "Keep your head down, this will go away." I didn't want to do that. Somebody had lost their life. Somebody had lost a son, and somebody had lost a brother as well. And I said, we need to take this opportunity to educate people, because the war on drugs is lost. You're never going to win it. And, I spoke about Strangeways Prison before. If you can't stop drugs going into a Category A prison like Strangeways, what am I supposed to do with a field like Hidden Park, or the door to get into Warehouse Projects? You're never going to stop it. So that's why I've been a massive advocate for back-of-house drug testing.
Well, I remember when you set that up at the warehouse projects.
We were the first ones in the UK
yeah.
to do it. And I still think it's so important. And
it's really important.
The way it works now is we take the confiscations from the front door and we have them tested off-site. It takes 5 minutes. We take them to Man-Met. They test them there in a laboratory. If there's something that's deemed concerning, I'm not scared. We'll put pictures out on social media.
Yeah.
And that's we say to people, it might be an orange tablet with Donald Trump's head on it or something.
Yeah, you can send a warning around there.
We send warnings out. That's the way we do it.
That's invaluable because you're not going to stop it.
I honestly, hand on heart, believes that has saved lives over the 12 years we've been doing it, and we'll never stop doing it. And other people are now doing, which I think is great.
And obviously, Parklife as well. That popped up in the middle of all this. How did you get involved with that?
So I decided, when I was at school, there were no end of year balls or anything like that. So it was a big American thing, wasn't it? You celebrate the big student thing at the end of the year. The prom, they called it. There was none of that when I was at school. But I started to hear about this end of year prom, and I thought, well, we could do a really big student one. So Parklife actually started 2010 in Plattfields in Fallowfield, which is the heart of student land. I think first year we had Calvin Harris, we had Booker Shade, David Guetta. It was big lineup.
Here, pictures from Parklife, wasn't it? This Liam Gallagher.
He renamed it Parklife, and actually, I will say, I've had Liam on 3 times, Noel twice, spoken to them, spent time with them. I am 110% Team Liam. He's such a nice, down-to-earth person.
Yeah.
He really is. Noel's all right. His ex-wife, is horrible.
Really? Which one? Meg?
No, Sarah.
Right.
She's
why?
really spoke down to me. I'm not going to tell you someone from the press. I spoke to them. Yeah. But yeah, Liam, what a top fella. And all that stuff that he does with his swagger and stuff.
I've met him a few times, and he's like
lovely,
you say, he's really. I've met him in a previous guise before I was a journalist. Met him when I was a trolley dolly. Nicest, chat to everyone. Brilliant.
That was the last picture he ever had taken at Heaton Park. He'd just finished. He was walking off stage. You can just see the stage on the left hand, and he was walking back to his car to get driven off straight away. And I'd gone up there to say that was an amazing show. Can I just have a quick pic? I never really have pics with the artists. Him and Snoop, I did. And his security pushed me out of the way. He said to security, "Stop me in a knobhead, this is the promoter."
Aww.
And I thought that's really nice.
Yeah, he's great. Also, you stood down from the warehouse project in Parklife last year.
Sold it last May.
So
the deal was actually done in 2021.
How does that feel though, waking up with, starting a new year, just be, without your 2 babies? I know you've got a new baby now, but how does that feel? They're your babies.
Do you know what? The time was right. I knew in 21 it was time for me to get out. I'm 53 now. I had dreams of me stood at the front door with a Zimmer frame.
Because you do. You're always there, aren't you? Dead smartly dressed at the door of every event.
Well, not smartly. I'm always in a bomber jacket. But no, it was time for me to get out. So I did the deal in 2021 with Live Nation. Had to stay on for 3 years, and then that was it.
What is next for you? Because we know you're still very vocal about the nighttime economy, about Manchester. We know the nighttime industries are having a really tough time.
Yeah.
I know
I just love championing the sector. Other cities have always spoken to me about, can you help, and so on. I've always been just Greater Manchester based. Glasgow have reached out, but I do now enjoy being more of a UK voice rather than just being Greater Manchester. I'll always be Manchester. I'll always be Greater Manchester. But now I've got more the freedom to express and say things. I don't have to be careful what I tweet anymore.
I know you've got the biggest job of your life now.
Look at that.
This little man here and your lovely wife.
Well, 3 o'clock this morning he was a little shit. He wasn't. Honest to God.
So how does this journey compare to your journey of the last 30 years?
Do you know, it's really exciting. When he laughs and he smiles, nothing's better than that. No, it's great. I've got So I mean,
Were you happy then at 3 o'clock this morning?
No, really pissed off.
He wasn't laughing, was he?
I'm probably going into some more detail than I need to now, but Demi's breastfeeding, which for me is quite good because it means I don't have to get up the bottle in the middle of the night. But next week she's got a hen do in London. So I'm going down to London with her. I'm going to be looking after Lowen all day long from 3 until 11:30. So I'm actually quite nervous about that. But we're going to go sightseeing, the two of us.
Did you ever think you'd be a dad?
Never. I didn't really want kids. Demi knew that, but Demi wanted them. So obviously I had to do what the boss wanted. But yeah, no, it's great.
But no plans for any more?
Well, she's talking about one more.
Get more touche clatting. You need to get
yeah, I need certainly a dose of Botox or something. But no, it's good. I'm enjoying it, really enjoying it.
And finally, one question from me before we open the floor. If you met your 16-year-old self now,
yes,
what advice would you give him? What would you tell him?
So I've actually set up a charity, the Sacha Lord Foundation. It was supposed to start the week Demi got pregnant. So it's going to restart in a couple of months. I set that foundation up because when I was 15, 16, 17, 18, and everyone in my class knew what they wanted to do, and I didn't, I was so anxious. I suffered really badly from anxiety. So I've set this foundation up so that if I can take young people in Greater Manchester between the age of 18 and 25 and get them into events, get them into hospitality, that's what I'm going to do. Because I got no A-levels, as you know, no qualifications, didn't go to university, but life's treated me quite well, and hospitality has allowed me to achieve that. There's no barrier in hospitality, and I know there's a few people in here today from hospitality. I saw a couple of names from Lucky Cat. They can go all the way. Yeah. Nothing's stopping you from doing that. So I'd go back to my 16-year-old self and say, you don't need A-levels, you don't need to go to university. I actually think the whole idea of being asked when you're 14, 15, what do you want to study for your A-levels? Yeah. Because that's going to determine what you want to do at university, and that will determine your life. And to sit 3 exams to determine the rest of your life, I think it's old hat. I think it needs reviewing. I really do.
Are you going to take on the education?
No.
No.
But I much prefer apprenticeships and things like that.
You do that at Parklife anyway. I remember you used to bring the kids in before.
We have an open day at Parklife and they all come round.
Yeah. To have a look at all the setup.
To set up, they meet the technicians, the engineers, some of the artists, the people that do the production, paramedics, people who do bars. They meet everybody, and it's a good. And
some of the that sound like I'm doing like a big advert now, but some of the proceeds from this is going to the foundation, isn't it?
It is. Everything.
Yeah, everything from that book. Thank you everybody for listening. Now we've got 15 minutes of questions. So anybody? Oh, yep, there, middle boat.
Reading your book, Sacha, is one of the most truest reflections of the time back then, from Hacienda and Blackburn. So I generally felt like I was taken back in time. So all the characters that you talked about, I remember seeing them in the clubs. And a bit hesitant to ask this question because you mentioned a story in your book of a cheeky chappie that you possibly saved their life. And I was just wondering, if you've seen him again, would you recognise him?
Which cheeky chap is that? There's been loads.
I think it was page 48. I think you had to put a gurney round his leg.
I don't know. Go on.
It's when when the door was shut, when you were left outside, when the steel shutter was coming down.
That wasn't you, was it?
My mate messaged me and said, I think there's a story about you in Sacha's book.
Really? So did you run in and leave me out?
I don't know running and leave you out. I just remember, actually you put a gurney round someone's leg. Okay. Which, to me, if it was correct and how it would potentially save my life, if it was me. So that's what. But I know there's quite a few people had similar incidents in that club and getting in the wrong scenario. But like I said, that was then backing out. So I told my wife I'm going to come here, just make sure I look in the eye, just in case it is the person that saved my life.
Oh, thank you.
I can remind you of it. So this is, it's written here, one kid, a lovely cheeky chappie, ventured on someone else's patch and ended up getting stabbed in the leg, just missing a major artery. I was so used to it by that stage, I took my belt off to try and make a tourniquet, and as I was doing it, I thought, oh, I've only bought this belt today. But saved his life. Oh, that is. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I just want to say a big thank you on behalf of everybody who's partied at any of your events. Thank you. On behalf of everything you've done for Manchester, thank you. And what you're continuing to do to fight for the nighttime economy, thank you. And and make sure you look after that little boy and that lovely lady.
Well done.
So,
Thank you, everyone.